Science seemed the better bet. For the most part, science has this to say. Yeah, right. If there were a soul, an etheric, disembodied you that can live on, independent of your brain, we scientists would know about it. In the words of the late Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the structure of DNA and author of the astonishing hypothesis, The Scientific Search for the Soul, you, your joys and your sorrows, your memories and your ambitions, your sense of personal identity and free will are in fact no more than the behavior of a vast assembly of nerve cells and their associated molecules. But can you prove that, Dr. Crick? If not, then it's no more good to me than the proclamations of God in the Old Testament. It's just the opinion, however learned, of one more white-haired, all-knowing geezer. What I'm after is proof. Or evidence, anyway. Evidence that some form of disembodied consciousness persists when the body closes up shop. Or doesn't persist. Proof is a tremendously comforting thing. When I was little, I used to worry that one day, without warning, the invisible forces that held me to the earth were going to conk out, and that I would drift up into space like a party balloon, rising and rising until I froze or exploded or suffocated or all three at once. Then I learned about gravity, the dependable pull of the very large upon the very small. I learned that it had been scientifically proven to exist, and I no longer worried about floating away. I worried instead about blackheads and whether Pat Stone dreamed of me, and other dilemmas for which science could provide no succor. It would be especially comforting to believe that I have the answer to the question, what happens when we die? Does the light just go out and that's that? The million-year nap? Or will some part of my personality, my meanness, persist? What will that feel like? What will I do all day? Is there a place to plug in my laptop? Most of the projects that I will be covering have been or are being undertaken by science. By that I mean people doing research, using scientific methods, preferably at respected universities or institutions. Technology gets a shot, as does the law. I'm not interested in philosophical debates on the soul, probably because I can't understand them. Nor am I going to be relating anecdotal accounts of personal spiritual experiences. Anecdotes are interesting, occasionally riveting, but never are they proof. On the other hand, this is not a debunking book. Skeptics and debunkers provide a needed service in this area, but their work more or less assumes an outcome. I'm trying hard not to make assumptions, not to have an agenda. Simply put, this is a book for people who would like very much to believe in a soul and in an afterlife for it to hang around in, but who have trouble accepting these things on faith. It's a giggly, random, utterly earth-bound assault on our most ponderous, unanswered question. It's spirituality treated like crop science. If you found this book in the New Age section of your local bookstore, it was grossly misshelved, and you should put it down at once. If you found it while browsing gardening or boats and ships, it was also misshelved, but you might enjoy it anyway. August 6, 1978, was a Sunday, the Feast of the Transfiguration. It was evening, and Pope Paul VI lay dying in his bedroom. With him was his doctor and two of his secretaries, Monsignor Pasquale Macchi and Father John McGee. At 9:40 p.m., following a massive heart attack, His Holiness expired. At that very moment, the alarm clock on his bedside table rang out. Accounts of this episode refer to the timepiece as the Pope's beloved Polish alarm clock. He bought it in Warsaw in 1924 and carried it with him in his travels from then on. He seemed to be fond of it in the way that farmers are fond of old, slow-moving dogs or children of their blankets. Every day, including the day he died, the alarm was set for 6:30 a.m. I first came upon this story in a gullible and breathless compilation of supposed evidence for the afterlife. I don't recall the book's title, though the title of the chapter about spirit communication, intercourse with the dead, seems to have stayed with me. The book presented the story of the pontiff's noisy passing as proof that